Can the ANC get away with talking about work opportunities? We're not talking about real jobs here. It's linked to the public works program, but they could be very temporary jobs, couldn't they?
Yeah, that has been the argument in terms of how we define a job. That's the first thing. And of course, a job is something that should be dependable, static, something that has the opportunity for careerism, and that is something that, of course, we can depend on to wake up and go to. So a job opportunity or work opportunity provides none of the above, and I think that that's some of the sophistry and the semantics that are very important to unpack. And of course, you know, the notion of 6 million jobs is really counter-cyclical, because global trends show us that, you know, the labor markets are losing jobs, and that's not only here, that's also across Europe. The United States is still in a state of recovery, but slow. Japan, of course, is in a state of some, you know, great economic trauma at the moment, not least since the storm and the nuclear, you know, the issues around the nuclear reactor. So really, us creating 6 million jobs in the next 5 years is going completely against global trends, and it's also going against the trends that we have seen in our own economy over the past 20 years.
People talking of job cuts, and it seems like the state will take the reins. You know, the state will provide these jobs, and look what happened in Greece. But what we need, and I don't know if you agree, is a regulatory environment, an environment where small businesses and the private sector can create jobs, surely.
Well, I mean, I think that also is to do with the kind of tax regime that we have, which doesn't always reward smaller businesses, and that makes it very difficult for small businesses to continue to function. It's to do with our banking regulations as well, which means that the extension of loans to small businesses when they may need to subsidize their capital outflow because of the lack of income or because of really variable profit margins is not really very available to them, is very static. It doesn't also give the space as well for small business to be able to expand. The currency devaluation as well. Currencies also show us how much or how little we're able to import and export, at what kind of rates, and all of these things have an impact on what people are buying, the consumer, and this is what keeps the economy vibrant, and this is what, the money circulation is really what gives us the ability to create or not create work on a long-term basis.
Are you disappointed that the ANC has not spoken much, as far as I can see, about regulation, about this environment for small business? Even the NDP has been criticized for mentioning small business and saying it's so important, but how do we support that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're raising a good point about what the NDP has said. I think that this goes back to the lack of coherence between a lot of the documents and the policy frameworks that have been produced over the last few years, the last 20 years, the NDP, the New Growth Path, etc., and the kind of dissonance between that and the manifesto, and the, you know, the kind of the proceedings that went on this weekend in Mpumalanga. So I think that is disappointing, but it's not entirely surprising. I also think that, you know, there's the IPAP, the industrial policy, which is a very interesting thing to say, which would be able to point us in the direction of longitudinal job creation and labor absorption, the motor industry, and different sorts of industries which we have not really looked at in their entirety. We are really at the point of primary and secondary level jobs. We haven't gone to tertiary level jobs, and we don't have the kind of skills and education system still to match the sort of aspirational economy that we are as part of the BRICS, etc. And I think that we keep on doing the same things in fairly the same way, and the results speak for themselves, and that we are still not able to absorb enough people into the economy, and we keep shedding jobs, and now we have a whole generation of matriculants who have just emerged as well, who also need a space in this economy, which is also already highly contested.
I guess finally what is new is the youth wage subsidy. Do you think it'll make a dent?
Not sure. I mean, I think that the idea of young people across the world, especially people across this country who are underclass, working class, whose parents are not able to, you know, give them the means to get taxi fare to get to an interview, that sort of thing is fairly useful. But I think, again, that is a very short-term measure to a long-term structural problem.
All right, thank you so much for your time,
Analyst
Lebohang Pheko there. And finally, we will take a look at your indicators. The JSE kicked off the week on a